Stripping everything away builds a sharper mind than adding to it, and almost every productivity system you've ever followed got that backwards. Most self-improvement content hands you more habits, more routines, more structure layered on top of structure, and if any of it had actually worked, you wouldn't still be looking. The real question isn't what to add next, it's what the research says you should have removed first. And there's a fictional training program that, when you pull it apart, maps onto real cognitive science in a way that's genuinely hard to ignore. The White Room, the fictional training facility from Classroom of the Elite, built the most cognitively dominant human being in the story. The neuroscience matches, not all of it. Some of it is genuinely horrifying, and I'll get to that. Buried inside that structure are 3 principles that real neuroscience backs up. The last one is the one almost nobody in this conversation talks about, and I'll tell you what it is at the end. So today we're going to go through the White Room blueprint, point by point, and extract what's actually usable. Let's start with what they did first. The White Room is a secret facility designed to enhance the mental, physical, and academic intelligence of its subjects by training them from a very young age. And the first thing they trained wasn't reading. It wasn't math. At age 2, before the children could reliably speak in full sentences, instructors ran them through forced choice critical thinking drills, an object hidden behind one of 2 hands, and the child had to figure out which one. That's it. Simple. But what that drill is actually targeting is something researchers call inhibitory control and working memory, and here's why that matters. Response inhibition can be measured already in infancy and improves significantly across early childhood, with evidence suggesting that individual differences in early executive function begin to stabilize from around 24 months. So the White Room wasn't doing something fictional when it started cognitive training at age 2. It was, weirdly, doing something that developmental science supports. Research suggests that this capacity may be largely trainable with appropriate training programs. Most people assume that kind of mental horsepower is just something you're born with. The research says otherwise. Alongside those drills, the children were also taught to distinguish themselves from each other by name at the same age, meaning self-concept, your sense of who you are relative to other people, was treated as a trainable skill on the same curriculum as memory, not something that just emerges on its own. A skill. That framing alone is worth sitting with for a second. Then came the memory work. Instructors ran repeated card placement and pattern memorization tests, structured, systematic, not casual, and this maps directly onto how real memory athletes train. Spaced repetition, pattern drilling, deliberate encoding. Desirable difficulties are specific learning conditions that slow short-term performance but strengthen long-term memory and transfer, a concept coined by Robert Bjork in 1994. The card drills weren't just about memorizing cards. They were building the retrieval infrastructure that everything else would run on top of. Here's where the curriculum gets interesting. The children also used VR simulations of the outside world, but not for entertainment, and not to learn facts about the world. They explored those environments specifically to practice spotting anything irregular, anything that didn't belong. They weren't being taught content. They were being trained to notice what's wrong in a scene before they could even name what was right about it. That's anomaly detection as a primary skill, and it's the opposite of how most education works. Most learning systems teach you the rules first, and then test whether you caught the exception. The White Room built the exception-catching reflex first, and let the rules come second. The White Room pushed its subjects to be analytical, logical, and rational, so that they could act calmly and objectively against adversity. But the mechanism for getting there wasn't lectures. It was simulation and pattern disruption. And you can actually do a version of this. Pick any environment you're in regularly, your desk, your commute, a meeting, and spend 5 minutes actively looking for what's off. What's different from yesterday? What doesn't fit? Your brain will start building that reflex. Physical training, by the way, didn't come in until age 4. Cognition first, body second. That sequence inverts a lot of modern discipline advice that starts with cold showers and 5 a.m. runs. The White Room's logic was that a trained mind directs the body, not the other way around. Now here's the one I told you to wait for, and this is the one that almost nobody in this conversation talks about. In swimming class, instructors deliberately withheld a key breathing technique from the children. They didn't teach it. They let the kids struggle with their times, and the only way to improve was to notice the technique themselves by watching closely enough and extracting the detail on their own. The lesson wasn't the breathing technique. The lesson was the act of finding it. And that maps onto something cognitive science has been quietly confirming for decades. In 1978, a psychologist handed college students a simple task. Half read word pairs like rapid, fast. The other half saw rapid, F, and had to fill in the blank themselves. The second group struggled more, were slower, made errors, and on a surprise memory test 1 week later, they remembered far more. Trying to come up with an answer before seeing it improves memory, even if you're wrong. The White Room swimming class wasn't cruelty for its own sake. It was a structured application of what Bjork later called desirable difficulty. The conditions that produce the best performance during practice are not the conditions that produce the best learning. And 3 decades of experiments have confirmed that. Most content teaches you by giving you the answer and then testing whether you remembered it. The White Room did the opposite. It hid the answer and rewarded whoever found it. That trained self-directed discovery instead of dependency on instruction. And that's a completely different cognitive muscle. Now I have to be honest with you here, because this is where the blueprint breaks down. And skipping this part would make this video irresponsible. Children in the White Room were subjected to a completely isolated, brutal educational regime, wearing standardized clothes, living in sterile rooms, following a relentless schedule, and any child who couldn't keep up was ruthlessly cut from the program. The in-universe accounts describe children suffering severe physical and psychological breakdowns. The series frames the White Room as horror, not aspiration, and that framing is correct. So what we're lifting here is the structure, not the methods, the sequencing, the philosophy. Stripped of the cruelty, there are exactly 3 things from this curriculum that are real, transferable, and backed by science. First, train noticing before content. Before you try to learn more things, spend time in your existing environment actively looking for what's wrong, what's irregular, what doesn't fit. Build the anomaly detection reflex. It makes everything you learn afterwards stick better because your brain is already primed to find gaps. Second, withhold the answer from yourself sometimes. Before you watch the tutorial, try the thing. Before you look up the solution, sit with the problem for 10 minutes. We forget things as our ability to retrieve them weakens through competition with other memories, and successful access to a hard-to-recall memory boosts retrieval strength more than if the memory was easy to access. Your brain tags effortful retrieval as important. Easy access sends the opposite signal. Third, and this is the one that ties everything together, and the one the White Room built its entire philosophy around. The curriculum was built around removing everything that had no direct bearing on performance. Subtraction before addition. Most self-improvement content gives you more to do. The White Room model asks what to remove first, and that inversion is the actual blueprint. You came into this video thinking the White Room was about extreme training intensity, and it is in the fiction, but the structure underneath it, the part that maps onto real neuroscience, is about sequencing, selective pressure, and making the brain find the answer instead of receiving it. That's a completely different game than grinding harder. If this kind of thing is interesting to you, drop a comment below with which of the 3 principles you're going to try first. Genuinely curious whether it's the noticing drills, the answer withholding, or the subtraction piece, because the answer tells you a lot about where your current system is actually breaking down. And if you want to go deeper on the environment side of this, how your physical space shapes your cognitive output, there's a video right here that goes into the neuroscience of your workspace in a way that pairs directly with everything we just covered. Watch that next.